Happy New Year and welcome to the very first AEW Dynamite review of 2025. God, it is such a momentous occasion. We're doing special things here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. It's bonkers. Bonkers, I tell you. Welcome, though. I hope you all had a lovely holiday season. Hopefully you were able to rest. You were able to party. You were able to see loved ones, whether friends, family, both. I hope you did sports. I know a lot around here, the old Quebec City. People were quite miserable because we had unusually mild weather. Please don't blame global warming, of course, but because that's a fictitious thing that doesn't exist, right? We all know this by now. But we had unusually mild weather, and it caused the majority of the snowfall that we had accumulated from November on to basically nothing. Like yesterday, and I kid you not, yesterday was Wednesday, right? Of course. But on January 1st, I'm outside. I'm taking the dog outside for the first time after waking up, after New Year's Eve. And I'm taking Juno out, who, by the way, for those of you with the benefit of video, is right there on the armchair. She's taking it nice and easy, still recovering from her New Year's Eve festivities. Nonetheless, don't get distracted, Warren. So we go outside and get dressed and everything, and we walk out, and I promise you, like everything in the yard, everywhere in the yard is down to grass, not just like spots of grass, like the entire yard is just it's green. It looks like, honestly, it looks like the month of April, and it feels like the month of April, and it's kind of raining. It's sort of a weird drizzle, and not, I wouldn't say a freezing rain. It was just like actual rain. I was like, oh, okay, well, there you go. So this put off people who wanted to do sports over the holiday break, right? Who wanted to go skiing. Skiing is big. There's a lot of skiing going around my parts. There's two major hills. Ski resorts, I guess. We used to call them hills. I don't think you call them hills anymore. I think that's demeaning or diminutive, right? It's not, it's a resort. It's more than just a hill. It's a resort because you've got the little cabins, and you've got the installations, the infrastructure for food, for, whatever the fuck you do at a ski resort. I don't ski. I've never skied. Look, I'm a Canadian, and I don't like winter. I don't like winter. Here's what I like about winter. I like the idea of snow falling. I like the idea of December 25th coming around, and you've got this nice light fluffy snow sort of tumbling from the sky and covering the ground and making everything all nice and cozy and muffled. That I'm super into. I love that stuff. But going outside to, do sports, and it's cold, and ice skating, snowshoeing, biathlon. Don't people do the biathlon? That's a sport, right? Do people go out and do the biathlon? Yeah, skiing. It's not for me. If you find pleasure in it, that's tremendous. Me, I believe that we should do like a lot of our mammal brethren and hibernate, and then go wild during the non-snowy season. But that's just me. I'm just not a fan. Where was I going with this? Yeah. So people were upset because there was no snow, essentially. So, here I am saying, I hope you did sports, that you took. If you like doing winter sports, I hope you enjoyed taking time to do winter sports, because a lot of people around here didn't. Hopefully where you are, and maybe where you are, you're like, Warren, I don't even have snow here. We do, I surf all year long, Warren. All right. I mean, it's the intent that counts, right? It was a well-meaning. It was well-meaning. Anyway, this is the first one of the year. This is the first Dynamite review of the year. Talking about the first Dynamite of the year that landed straight directly on January 1st. So yeah, well, look, I intend to be around all year this year. This is my plan. Hopefully, I'm not going to require anything that will force me to disappear for another few months in 2025. So every day we have together is a blessing, basically. But I am looking forward to continuing on doing the Dynamite reviews this year. No matter what AEW throws at us, I'm going to keep at it until I can't keep at it no more, right? Because I've always said this, right? I've always said this in regards to everything that I do, in regards to, wrestling, watching wrestling, etc. I will never compromise I will always prefer, I'll put it this way. I will always prefer to watch things I actually want to watch, that I feel like watching, as opposed to the opposite, which is why I gave up on WWE years ago, because I just came to the realization that, WWE kind of stinks. It's not for me. So, and it makes me angry when I watch it. So why put myself through that frustration? And, would I be doing better numbers if I were covering WWE on a regular basis? Sure. These days, absolutely. Would I be miserable all the time? Yes. And then there'd be stuff that I could not be watching, then because since I'm watching like another 6 to 8 hours of programming for WWE to keep up with it like I used to, then it means that I have to cut down on something else. Then maybe I'm not watching, maybe I'm not watching CMLL anymore. Maybe I'm not watching New Japan anymore, or much, much less. And that bothers me. I'm like, no, I'm not cutting away watching wrestling that actually makes me happy. Because ultimately, I think when it comes to myself and any other reviewer, really, I think the content comes across as better if the reviewer is actually enjoying what they're going through, what they're watching. Doesn't mean that there can be missteps and things they don't like in the meantime, but if the generalized feeling is, I hate WWE and I don't want to watch it, but I'm watching it for the views, for the content, I think that's a very negative way of approaching things. Maybe it'll be funny for the viewer at first. I think it becomes tiresome, and it eventually leads to some kind of crash out, inevitably, from the person who's doing that, because that cannot be good psychologically. Like mentally, you're destroying yourself. There's nothing good about it. There's absolutely nothing good about committing to hate watching something and then sitting down and reviewing it and creating content and then engaging with angry people because they're angry that you're angry. It doesn't make it, like, to me, it doesn't make sense. And it's a surefire way it's a surefire plan to get yourself burnt out and having to take a break and, taking a mental health break away from content creation. Surefire way. We've seen it all before. That's why your boy is going to be ultra positive now. I have decided that the new arc for 2025 is going to be extra super positive Warren Hayes. No negativity ever. Criticism is dead. Might as well just lean into the everything is great crew. Maybe I'll get back into good graces with some people. Explore some new venues, some new alliances, some new friendships, perhaps. No, I'm not doing that. What are we talking? No. And I was like, when I was thinking about it, I was like, maybe I should do that. Like, do some reviews where I'm just like forcing myself to be ultra positive. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that either. I don't want to do that either. It sounds very cringe, actually. I thought, it could be a good goof. No, it's not a good goof, Warren. That's a bad idea. But that is not a good goof. It's a bad idea. Streaming on Max is a good idea though. Listen, I'm Canadian. All right, we do not have the HBO Max here. It's channeled through a thing called Crave. If you're Canadian, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But you know, Canada is very protective of its broadcast space. We are welcoming to American productions and American content. I mean, we do share the same continent. Culturally, the USA is ubiquitous. It's hard to avoid it. However, there's laws in place, and I don't want to get into too deep into the weeds here, but there are laws in place in Canada where, you know, where the broadcast space is protected to a degree where if you want to broadcast your stuff in Canada, well, or if you want your channel's contents, your content from your channel to be broadcast in Canada, well, you have to partner up with someone here, right? So let's say, it's not a very good example anymore, but up until recently, there's a Discovery Channel in the US. Let me just cut right to the quick here. There's a Discovery Channel in the US, and there's a Discovery Channel in Canada. But the Discovery Channel in Canada doesn't belong to Warner Bros. Discovery. It belongs to, I think it's either Chorus or Bell. I think it's Bell. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. But it's owned by a media company here in Canada who purchased a license for the Discovery name. But the management of the content, production, and so on and so forth, the airing, the time slots and everything, that's all managed in Canada. That's the kind of laws that we have set up here. So we don't have the HBO. We've never had HBO, or maybe we did for a while. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Currently we don't have HBO, and but we do have a thing called Crave, which is set up by Bell Media, like I just mentioned, which is, I don't know if it's the biggest media company in Canada. It's either the biggest or the second biggest, but it's either between them or Rogers. And when I talk media company, like it owns TV stations, cable networks. It owns internet distribution, cable distribution, cell phones, mobile phones, residential phones, like all these services. Anyway, this very roundabout way of explaining this to get to the point, which is Bell operates a thing called Crave, which is a subscription service, which is sold as a premium subscription service, right? Kind of like HBO, right? Well, what's the word? Prestige watching, right? Prestige television. So if you want the Game of Thrones, if you want The Sopranos, if you want all of these high-end HBO shows, you have to subscribe to Crave. But again, it's not HBO. It's not Max. So whatever Max decides to do doesn't necessarily mean that Bell is going to run in and be like, yeah, this is great. We're going to add this. We're going to add all of these to our services, right? To Crave, especially since Crave, I do believe Crave does not, because I'm not subscribed to Crave. I don't believe Crave does. I don't believe they do like live streaming. I don't think they're necessarily equipped for that, and that's not their purpose either. That might change, but it's not their purpose. So I don't think they're outfitted to welcome Wednesday Night Dynamite to its fray. That being said, TSN, which is owned by Bell, if I'm not mistaken, right? Let me just double check this information here. Let me give who owns TSN just to make sure. TSN is owned by CTV Specialty Television Inc. CTV is another big Canadian. It's Canadian television, CTV. That's, it operates all throughout the country, and they have a division called CTV Specialty Television Inc., and it's a joint venture between Bell and ESPN. Yes, ESPN. So Bell owns 70% of CTV specialty and ESPN owns 30%. So there you go. So ultimately TSN is owned by Bell. I was correct. That's the only thing that matters is that it was right. That the rest, it's all details. All that matters is that I'm right. So TSN just a few weeks ago, right, announced that they had settled a deal with AEW, that TSN was going to be the home of AEW in Canada, and that Collision would finally start broadcasting on TSN proper as opposed to its streaming service. So, and again, like on Crave, I don't believe that there's any sports. I really think it's just like it's television, it's TV shows, it's miniseries, it's film, but there's no sports content. And I think for the time being, they kind of want to keep TSN separate from that because TSN has its own streaming service as well right now. So that's probably an incentive, or at least, the people at TSN think this is an incentive, right? So, okay, let's come back all around here. We're over 15 minutes into this. We're getting on to 20 and we're not even talking about the show yet. So basically Max, right? So I get to listen. I get to watch Max. I get to use Max. I have a darling sweetheart who lives in the United States who is able to provide me with a Max subscription. She shares it out, and then through the magic of VPN, right? I'm able to indulge. I'm able to get that going. Look, say what you want about VPNs. They work and they're great. And I think everyone should have a VPN, and not just to be able to flip around, different versions of Netflix or whatever the fuck. I think everyone should own a VPN because it does obfuscate to a degree your IP address. I think that's good. You should not be constantly giving your location to websites, to social media applications. Everyone should use a VPN regardless. And then when you do have one, you have these little perks where instead of watching it on TV, well, you're like, well, I'm going to fire up the Max thing and we'll see what happens. And I have the fallback to go back onto cable, open up the cable box, head on over to TSN and watch it. I had that fallback. And it turns out the Max stream went off without a hitch. Like that was just absolutely tremendous, right? No hitches, beautiful picture quality. I would even go as far as to say that this is probably one of the most, the prettiest wrestling live stream that I've seen in ever. Maybe at some moments, the Wrestle Universe stream, the Noah Wrestle Universe streams, maybe, but that picture was beautiful and clear and sharp and it popped. Like the highlights were all very bright and the colors were nicely saturated and brilliant. I don't know. Picture quality was great. I had no issues with it, like zero issues with it. I was to the point, like, I'm going to give it a couple of weeks. We'll see how it goes. But this might be the end of the cable box for me, and if Bell, TSN, if anyone wants to figure out a solution that is as easy to use as Max in the US is, but for us in Canada, for AEW, I will gladly jump in. I will 100% gladly jump in because that was tremendous. That was super easy. That was super duper duper easy. And frankly, like I keep my cable box, but I never watch anything on broadcast. It was mostly for pro wrestling stuff. I was like, well, I had I had the DVR running, and so I'd record the AEW shows and I'd record the WWE shows. I'd record the TNA shows, but everything is on streaming now. Everything's on streaming, so I can pick it up wherever. So if something happens, I can just well, I'll fire up the Netflix then. I already have a Netflix account, So look, I have nothing but great things to say about that stream. It was wonderful. It was good. It was super good. Yeah, I think the only thing that bums me out with Max is that there's no like dedicated space for stuff. They used to have that on the old HBO Max, right? Do you remember that? Where you'd have like main properties would all have like their little hubs. You know, I'm a big guy. I'm a big guy, but I'm also a big Adult Swim watcher. I love like anyway. I'm a big Adult Swim guy, so I really liked the Adult Swim hub back in the day with HBO Max, where you could just go there and you have like latest editions, latest shows. Now I don't know. It's a little trickier to follow stuff that's going on with the Adult Swim stuff. You know, there's no real easy way to track the shows that you like. I don't find, you know, other than add to my list, you know. You see what I mean? Like, and here in the case of AEW, I think an AEW hub would be perfect. You get there, you'd have all their little programs all set there. You know, you'd have the Dynamites, the Collisions, then you'd have the 2019 stuff, and then you'd have the reality show they did, which I'm, you know, morbidly curious to go back and watch it just because of how much things have changed. I really want to go back and check that out. Cause yeah, anyway. So, you know, but you'd have everything wrapped up there. And then the match in a movie thing that Renee and RJ do, like everything would be like sent all wrapped up there and nice and cozy and easy to find, easy to, you know, easy. You remember easy? Remember when things are easy? I feel it's a little more of a struggle. However, it's still much easier than it was way before. Have we just become complacent to the convenience that we have? Maybe we're just like, okay, well, this is ultimately very convenient, but it could be more convenient. But it is already really convenient. Like you pull up the show you want, you type it in your computer machine, and you shoot it off to your TV screen, and there you go, you're good. Or you watch it on your laptop, whatever the fuck. You know, I mean, that's pretty convenient. That's pretty damn convenient. I don't know. That's my biggest quibble really with the HBO stuff, with the Max stuff, with the HBO Max stuff. It's not HBO Max. It's just Max. But this show, this January 1st, January 1st, AEW Dynamite, the Fight for the Fallen show over in Asheville, North Carolina at the Harrah's Cherokee Center. First time going to the venue, not the first time that wrestling has ever been there. I think there was an episode of Dynamite, not Dynamite, but WCW Nitro that showed up there in the day. 3,332 tickets were distributed as of recording. I'm recording this on the 2nd, of course, and we haven't got the final count from old WrestleTix yet. So I say, you know, fine. You know, they're holding above the 3,000 mark, which is good. And again, I think these smaller venues are a boon. I said on the last review that I was not going to harp on the smaller venue thing anymore, so I won't. We got to move on with some new content, especially since we're reviewing a show and it's been 25 minutes and we haven't even started speaking about the show yet. That's the Warren Hayes experience. That's the Warren Hayes experience that you have come to love and enjoy, and that you will want more of in 2024, right? 2025, excuse me. Right. Happy New Year. So the show starts with the Pointer Sisters. We got the Pointer Sisters kicking off the first edition, the very first AEW Dynamite of the year, the first simulcasted Dynamite as well, with the Pointer Sisters. And I'm listening to this, and bold choice. Like I kind of laughed because I was not expecting that. Apparently, it's a very controversial choice. I've seen some very hefty critique. Who doesn't like the Pointer Sisters? Sounds like an 80s sitcom. Right? It's the Pointer Sisters. The Pointer Sisters I'm so excited does not sound like an 80s sitcom. Like, if you think that this sounds like an 80s sitcom theme, you have never listened to an 80s sitcom. And I mean this. Go back and listen to any theme song from any sitcom in the 80s. And I'm talking like, Family Ties, Growing Pains, Who's the Boss, The Golden Girls, Full House, Different Strokes, Silver Spoons, Kate and Allie, Night Court, Head of the Class, Mama's Family, My Two Dads 80s? Was that, maybe it started in the 80s and then right into the 90s, but My Two Dads, Too Close for Comfort, Perfect Strangers. There's another one you could never get away with today. Perfect Strangers. Webster. I want you to go back. Hell, even the fucking Cosby Show, right? Cheers. I want you to go back and listen. Those are your prime. I think I've just enumerated a prime gaggle of top tier 1980s sitcoms. And you go tell me how the Pointer Sisters fits into that. It makes no sense. Anyway, honestly, I don't give a shit. I think it's a bold decision. And I like bold decisions. I don't have an issue with it. Them using the Pointer Sisters. I don't think it's going to last very long. But I'm completely comfortable with the Pointer Sisters opening up AEW Dynamite instead of, generic, high-pitched, Tom Morello wannabe vocalist over grading guitars type theme. I'm completely, I like to mix things up. And if this bothered you, it's like, okay, then maybe you put too much stock in wrestling themes, which are always like, and especially when it comes to Dynamite and Collision, right? Like I appreciate Tony wanting to bring back the Elton John song, right? The Saturday Night's Prime for a Fight. I never remember the title of that song, but you know what I'm talking about. And he's I appreciate that he's bringing it back, but most weeks it's like a shortened version, or they just a cold open and they go right to a match. Like more than often, there's cold opens on this. Who cares? It's like it's such an overall detail. Now but at the same time, and just in case you're already starting to type furiously in the comments, I understand that when it comes to your fandom, your overall appreciation of a wrestling show, there's something that you can attach to the theme song, where it's like the theme, you hear the theme, it evokes, wonderful memories and whatnot. I get that. That's fine. And I'm not going to complain about that. That's absolutely fine. I don't have a problem with it. I really, really, really do. I don't have a problem with it at all. Okay. But I just think it's funny. And I think the reaction is funny. And people don't know what 80s sitcom themes sound like. If that's their main gripe. We get a Death Riders previously taped promo, I guess. Lot of pre-taped promos. I feel like just before we get into this, I feel like there's a lot of pre-taped promos and vignettes on this show. And I like a substantial amount. I didn't count them. There's got to be a dozen, right? There's at least got to be a dozen. And and I'm wondering if this isn't because Tony saw this as, a moment because of the simulcast that they were going to get a bunch of new eyeballs and they wanted to introduce as many people as possible and, create connections in that fashion. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know how many new fans you're getting out of this, right? Because I think the existing fans are gonna watch this. Now, if you mean new fans out of people who are like out of people who might pull it up on HBO Max, just plain old Max, Warren, just plain old Max. I don't know how you go about that, because look, I regrettably didn't refresh the homepage when it started, but I didn't see any indications on the homepage of Max when I logged in for, tonight there would be a live episode of AEW Dynamite streaming on Max. I didn't see any advertising for it. I didn't see that at all. And as we mentioned before, the only way you could watch, the best way to access AEW content is to pull up the search bar and type in AEW Dynamite or just AEW, and then you get the content. So you have to dig for it. So you still have to know what's happening. I might be wrong here, because like I said, I did not refresh the page, but I logged in at about 10 minutes to 8 just to fire up the stream to see, okay, well, how is this going to work, right? And they start up the stream 5 minutes previous. Okay, cool. But there was when I logged in on the home page, on the landing page of Max, there was nothing to indicate, nothing saying, hey, tonight. You go to Netflix. What's the first thing you get bombarded when you log into your Netflix account? It's like, this new thing. Scroll, this new thing. A wipe, actually. Wipe, this new thing. Wipe, this new thing. There's some level of discovery. Here, there really wasn't any. So I'm wondering, if this was the objective, to have all of these multiple pre-tapes to make things palatable for new fans who may be jumping in and don't know who these people are, I'm wondering where these new fans are coming from. I'm wondering where these new fans are landing. Because they're still, if you're watching this on Max, you are still seeking out directly AEW Dynamite. Does that make sense? As opposed to having it presented to you on the homepage and say, hey, try out this new thing. It's streaming live, or it's streaming live right now, or it's about to stream live, whatever the fuck. And then you're like, oh, pro wrestling, click. I still don't think Max is all that great when it comes to discovery. When it comes to the quality of stuff that's there is great, but no one is discovering some of the deeper stuff, some of the back catalog of stuff that they may have there, or what's going on with the streaming. You did have to go to the BR section, right? Which is fine, but again, you have to go to the BR section to see the Dynamite stuff. I'm talking really on the home page as you're landing. Anyway, that's discussion for. We'll pursue this discussion later. We're barely kicking off here. So the Death Riders, it's basically Mox, right? He's with the Death Riders and he's, cutting a promo on, Copeland and the title and all that. And it's amazing how Jon Moxley can cut these amazing, fantastic, investing promos, but then the angle be so womp womp, right? Do we kind of agree that the Death Riders angle is right now is not super exciting, and the Adam Copeland FTR stuff is not making it more exciting? I think there might be some things to give it a shot in the arm that are coming down the pipe, which I will gladly share with you in a little bit. But as hot as this started off, it's followed the usual pattern of AEW angles, right? Something starts off hot, but the follow-up flounders. And this is where we're at. We got Jon Moxley, who is one of the most charismatic dudes in the company, who can still work, great brawler, who has this violent, aggressive persona, and a lot of stuff that happens in the angle. We started going, sort of shrug. There's a lot of shrugging. Whole lot of shrugging going on. There's another song that they could use. Whole lot of shaking going on, but then you replace shaking that by shrugging. Whole lot of shrugging going on. Anyway, this cuts to Rated FTR, who cut their promo live, and Adam Copeland saw fear in Moxley's eyes. Oh boy. Yes, we are going to get to the Adam Copeland thing in a second. Adam Page defeated Orange Cassidy. This was a nice little match. I mean, you know, nothing great. There was a lot of wrestling on the show, which I will never bitch about. I'm very thankful for that. Not all of it was good, but I think most of it was good. I think this one here was one of the better matches. I thought it was good. Nothing great. Nothing that's going to knock your socks off, but it was good. I mean, this is why I watch pro wrestling, and it was a nice little crowd pleaser I found too. You know, Hangman, Orange, that was fine. And they're pretty evenly matched in this match until Hangman Page lands a sack of shit on Orange Cassidy on the floor. Orange Cassidy keeps rolling out of the ring to avoid buckshot lariats, which of course infuriates the temperamental Hangman Adam Page. DDTs or in punches by Cassidy, but Page lands finally a buckshot lariat to get the win. Then after the match, he attacks Orange Cassidy, ground and pounds him, and then hits a pair of dead eyes. You know, I think it's pretty clear what they're doing here with Orange Cassidy. He's, you know, going back to his level is what is happening here. I think the idea of main event Orange Cassidy is done. I think it's no longer going to be a thing. I think they missed the window to making this guy a guy last year. They may have tried this year, but it's not working out. Last year you had the perfect combination of events. You had the incredible international title run, international title / All Atlantic, right? They changed the name while he was champion, right? Or something. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But he had his incredible run. He had his hot feud. It was hot feud with Jon Moxley, loses it, and then the very next Dynamite, he's back to eating Doritos with Hook on TV. So I think this is a clear symbol. This is what they want to do here. They're sending Orange Cassidy back to his level. Just as simple as that. Might be taking some time off because you know, a couple of dead eyes. You want to sell that. Orange might have a couple of weeks off here too, and I think it wouldn't. I don't think it'd be an issue. If he's written off TV for a while, I think that's fine. I like Orange Cassidy. That's not the issue is not that I don't like him. I just think, you know, if you want some time off, I think it's good. Nothing like having people miss you to make you come back hotter. But then Christopher Daniels runs in and he's still dressed like he's an interim EVP. And I'm like, wait, no, he's not an EVP anymore. What is he doing? And he's bringing in the security with him. I'm like, what is this? We just got rid of this on World's End. But, you know, commentary did say, oh, he's no longer an EVP. Well, he sure is acting like one. But then they're also putting over the fact that, oh, he's Adam Page's friend. No, he's not. They had that one angle, that one discussion. They had that one discussion last week on Dynamite. And I talked about this on the World's End review, which is available, by the way, on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast for everyone. I talked about this. So on Dynamite last week, Daniels comes out to say, you know, if you need a friend, I got your back, because there's a lot of Death Riders and you don't have any friends anymore, and I got your back, right? So while all the nonsense is going on at World's End in the main event, while all of that is happening, Christopher Daniels is nowhere to be found. And now Christopher Daniels comes out pretending to be a friend, and he's like, don't do this. And then, you know, Page, what does he do? He beats him down too. Like, this is so contrived and forced. Like, this sudden relationship between Christopher Daniels and Adam Page. Oh, backstage they are legit friends. Yeah, but allow it to thrive on TV a little bit before you try to force it as an angle on it. It's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, none of this stuff involving Christopher Daniels for the past months makes any sense. So he beat him up for good measure, and as he should. Jay White cuts a promo to hype up his three-way match later on in the evening, and he is also a tremendous promo. He got me excited for it. I don't require much. You just got to get people talking with passion, being intense about what they're doing, making it feel authentic. Jay White, I'm telling you, Jay White is an unheralded gem in this company. Because whatever position they toss him in, he excels. He goes above and beyond. And he's usually a guy that your attention focuses on. Same thing in the three-way later on in the evening. But it's always a question of little things. And Jay White is so good at the little things because he is a thinking man's wrestler. He's tremendous. He is such a gem in AEW. Fantastic stuff. We get the Acclaimed cutting a promo. There's more dissent than ever between Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. Please, let's just move on. Let's have them split. I do not want them to reconcile. I don't care if they reconcile. I much prefer them to go their separate ways. You can feel that the gimmick is overwrought and heavy-handed now. So that leads us to the tag team match where this Hurt Syndicate duo, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, defeated the Acclaimed. It was actually more of an angle than a match, where the idea is that Max Caster has been talking a lot of shit, doing a lot of bullshit in the ring. He even blows a spot though in this match. That was not covered. They had to do the spot again. Yeah, this wasn't part of the act. He actually did blow a spot. And Anthony Bowens just has enough of his shit, and he jumps off the apron and he goes up the ramp and he just watches the match from afar as Max Caster gets the shit beat out of him by Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley, who look tremendous, of course. Shelton Benjamin throwing those incredible knee strikes, and Bobby Lashley just looking like a mountain of a man, destroying lesser men. So good little squash win ultimately for the Hurt Syndicate. Please, I thought they were going to do something here with the Hurt Syndicate and Bowens. I'm still holding out hope. I am not done with this hope. This will probably even be an impetus, right? Where it's like, look, it's not as if Bowens and Shelton Benjamin didn't trade strikes, but it didn't get nasty, right? And at some point, Bowens walked away and he was no longer involved physically with the Hurt Syndicate. So it's not one of these angles, one of these turns where the guy turns, enjoys the group that just spent an entire match beating him into powder. Now he can come around to this and maybe MVP will be like, look, I can see you don't want to hang out with these jackasses anymore. Because the idea right now, the gimmick that Max Caster has right now is that he's being bitched out. That's his thing. He's a mockery. He's being made a mockery of. That's the thing. And I think everyone applauds that. I think that's a good role for Max Caster. I think he does his role well. There's a lot of people who take all of this much more seriously, the Max Caster, because they really, really hate Max Caster, but he's leaning into it. He's being super annoying. People get annoyed when he calls himself the best wrestler on the planet. I myself look at this and say, sure, this is good heel work because you're getting the people mad. You're making people mad at your clear working arguments in regards to your talent. So this is good. It's all good. I feel like I've talked too much about this match for what it's worth, but nonetheless. Swerve is backstage. He's getting interviewed, and he puts over the triple threat later on in the evening as well. Julia Hart defeated Jamie Hayter in this match that had been built for multiple weeks. I think it was a good build as opposed to this match, which I didn't think was good. I think it kind of stunk. There's a lot of awkwardness in this match between the two, and Julia Hart tries to end this with the mist, and I don't see the mist flowing out of her mouth. I don't see the mist on Jamie Hayter's face, even though she's selling it. I don't see anything. Is it an invisible mist? Is this a new type of mist that we're introducing to mist lore, into pro wrestling mist lore? The invisible mist, or the translucent mist at the very least. Maybe it's not invisible. Maybe it's translucent. And it has the same effects as any other mist, except it's translucent now. And they were talking about the black mist on commentary, and I'm like, there's no black. You don't have to sell me the color. I don't see anything. I think that spot was blown. So not a good return for Julia Hart, unfortunately. I didn't look. They clearly didn't have any chemistry. Julia clearly hasn't been wrestling during her time off. Of course not. She was injured, but she needs to get back on the boat here. And Jamie Hayter, man, I mean, ooh, I don't want to be that guy, but look, I'm not going to sit here and bury the hell out of Jamie Hayter. That is not my intent. But we all have to agree that she ain't what she used to be. There's something happening with her right now that it's just not working right now. And I don't know what the magic formula is, but this is not the Jamie Hayter from 2 years ago that was at the height of her popularity, that people were just going bonkers for, and who herself was probably at the time, no, not even probably, was unequivocally one of the top 5 women's wrestlers in North America. I say that with complete confidence. Now, I don't know. She as well is, she's been back for a few weeks now. I'm still ready to give her some rope because it's Jamie Hayter. I nonetheless have faith that she's going to bounce back, but here's someone else who hasn't been necessarily tearing the house down. Then again, maybe once she gets opponents with which she can tear the house down, I don't know. Look, the match itself wasn't very good. We get a Kazuchika Okada pre-tape. He talks about winning the Continental Classic and Kenny Omega returning, and tells Kenny Omega he needs to stay out of his business, right? And was it before or after we were zooming on the All In Texas thing, the banner that they had? Look, they're telling you without actually telling you that this match is happening in Texas, okay? Like, at this point you have to be not paying attention to not be picking up on the cues. And it's only been two AEW events since, including Kenny Omega's return. And they're clearly earmarking this for the Texas show, which is smart. Some people talk about, they're not promoting not the Sydney show, the Australia show. It's not in Sydney. Sorry about that, Australian people. But wasn't Tony Khan saying recently that he wasn't even sure that they were going to make a pay-per-view out of it because of the time differences and whatnot, and it was very complex or whatever the fuck, right? Wasn't there a bit of that? Or I'm pretty sure there was a bit of that, right? I'm sure they'll be doing a lot. Like, if it's turning into a house show, like, of course it's a lot less exciting, period, right? I don't know, but I would still be promoting the hell out of this a lot more. But AEW is weird with its promotion, man. It's really, really weird. We know this. They're not good at it. Mercedes Manet comes to have a championship celebration, and let's look back at what happened over 2024, like the most WWE segment of the show. And I don't even think WWE does these segments anymore. Do they? But of course, you have all the old guys who used to do this for Vince that are working for AEW. So they're like, oh, we'll do this. And why did they do this? To get over the match, I'll tell you why. It was to be a good partner for New Japan and put over the one match they want to put over for Wrestle Dynasty this weekend, which is Mercedes Moné and Mina Shirakawa, because both these ladies work for AEW, right? AEW hasn't been, look, when they can barely, I want to say too many things at once. People complain that AEW is a bad partner to New Japan because they don't promote their crossover stuff well. And I agree. The promotion for Wrestle Dynasty, which is a co-branded show, by the way. It's not New Japan doing a thing and then inviting AEW talent. No. This Wrestle Dynasty is a co-promoted show. And they aren't doing a lot. Like most big matches involve AEW wrestlers. Kenny Omega is on the show. Ricochet is on the show. And Mercedes, right? So a lot of people look at this and they're like, well, this is a terrible, again, AEW terrible partner, blah, blah, blah. But then when you think about it, AEW is already bad at promoting its own stuff. Like, what, are they suddenly going to become geniuses when promoting stuff from the other promotion? I don't have a right answer, but if you're not into the Wrestle Dynasty, I don't blame you. Did they ever mention that the Bucks are going to be challenging for the IWGP World Heavyweight titles and are probably going to win them? Did they? And I say world, they're not world. It's just IWGP Heavyweight title, tag team titles. They're probably going to win them. That's the thing. Because the tag team situation right now for the champions is a little messy because Hanari's injured. Anyway, so they're probably going to win the titles. That's the thing. So I'm not trying to, trust me, I'm not trying to sit here and tell you, oh yeah, I think everyone is nuts. This has been well promoted. It has not. It really has not. Anyway, Mercedes says that she also wants a shot at the Rev Pro title. We knew this. Somehow the graphic that appeared on TV said NJPW Strong Women's title, but no, it is a title for title match. And look, my prediction is that Mercedes is losing, unless we think Mercedes is going to start going to work the UK, which I don't think so. I don't think so. You never know though. But I feel like Mina's going to be the girl. I think Mina's winning both of these titles. And Mercedes, well, she's just happy because she gets to work the Tokyo Dome. And which she should, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I mean, this was such a weird segment. Very, very weird. Then we recap some of AEW's charity work for towards the recovery of Asheville, North Carolina. They have Dax Harwood handing out large checks, not big, goofy checks. You know what I'm talking about, but laminated, somewhat bigger than a typical check, but not an actual check size, but bigger. Not oversized, not goofy, but big enough. And he's given it a couple. Very awkward segment that I found didn't put over well what AEW did. I didn't quite understand the efforts that were put in, but AEW seemed to have given like $50,000 to two different charities, which is dope. But commentary was struggling with this. It was all very awkward. It was very, 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 very awkward. And this is the whole part of the show, right? Fight for the Fallen. It's like the charity thing, and you can't get your charity stuff across. I'm telling you, AEW are terrible at self-promotion. They really, really fucking are. Undisputed Kingdom is backstage with Alex Marvez. Oh, I say Undisputed Kingdom. Everyone except Bennett and Taven. Ha! Like, we're all back together. It feels so good. And the two guys who've been there from the start are not in the group. They're not there anyway. I'm like, okay, whatever. Look, I told you about this on the review for World's End. I am not hyped for this. I don't care. They're saying that this is going to be their year. I really hope it's not. I'm not into this. I'm not into this for a second. And the only way that this could have made it better is if they let Roderick Strong come out to End of Heartache, which he did not. They're still doing the other gimmick. I don't know. I don't think the Undisputed Kingdom's theme is actual. I don't think it's Mikey Ruckus's best work. I think it's kind of lame. I think this is proof that Tony Khan really likes Adam Cole when pretty much everyone else is kind of sick of Adam Cole. That brochacho stuff, man, just cursed. Absolutely cursed. I was telling you at the time, this isn't good. Oh no, Warren, this is going to be great. Look at where we're at right now in the career of Adam Cole, who was legitimately, for a time, one of the coolest motherfuckers out there. We all recall, years ago, he was one of the coolest guys out there. Anyway, then we get a number one spot for the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal, which I think I think that's fun. I think it makes sense because it guarantees you a spot in the Casino Gauntlet. The one thing that I want AEW to be careful with when it comes with the Gauntlet is the idea of not knowing who's going to be in it. That was the appeal of the first one and the second, of all of them. But when they did the first one, it was like anyone can be in it, right? And we had surprises and so on and so on. So like we've talked about in the past, it's like there's this vision of guys in gorilla lined up, and they're like, I got to get into this one. I got to get into this one. And they're rubbing their hands and, hopefully no one gets pinned too soon. Because that's the other thing, is that you just need one pin, right? You just boom, and you're done. And the whole match is finished. So I want that to hang on, right? I want that to stay. So that someone is like, I want to guarantee myself a spot. That's cool. I need the one. If I get the number one spot, I am for sure guaranteed to be in the match. That I like. But I don't want people declaring for this, right? Jeff Jarrett does it later on in the show. And I'm like, well, okay. But there should still be. So I would find it hilarious if Jeff Jarrett doesn't make it, because he said, I want to be in it. But maybe he was the seventh guy to come in, and the sixth guy comes in, and it's the sixth guy who scores the pin. And he's like, man. And that's cool. But then a lot of people, I think, that are kind of dumb, are not going to pick up on that. And they go, wait, Jeff Jarrett said he was going to be in. Yeah, but maybe Jeff Jarrett was down the line. And because that's been the concept of the Gauntlet moving forward. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't want this to become a Royal Rumble situation where people declare and they fight for spots, or they declare, and then because they declare, you're expecting them to be in the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal, right? You're expecting them because they've said, you want the variety, you want the thing that makes this work the best is that everyone in the company can be on this. Upper card all the way down to the jabrones. Everyone can be in this, right? Wasn't it the first one where they had Will Ospreay come out? And people were like, holy shit, right? It's not just like little mid-card guys. Like, anyone can be in this. So, and serious title contenders. So I'm for this, keeping it open and unpredictable, as opposed to people declaring and then the audience expecting them to come in. And then you have then it's like 6 to 7 people who join, and you already have half of the field you're already aware. It takes away some of the luster. It takes away some of the reasons why it makes this so effective. Because I like the idea of guys being like, man, it was my turn, but Will Ospreay got the pin, and fuck him. And that would actually be a really good, little mini feud that you could have, where, Will Ospreay gets the pin, and then the week after, I don't know, fucking anyone at all. Dante Martin comes out, and he's like, man, I was next in line, but Will Ospreay won the match. So Will Ospreay, you cost me a shot at the world title for being in the Gauntlet. Ospreay comes out and says, "Oh, if you got an issue with it," and I'm not talking about a pay-per-view. I'm not talking about this extended pay-per-view feud. This is just a nice little thing you can do in the meantime. Just a nice little TV feud, just to fill some time for both Dante, and then build up a little match between Dante and Dante or whoever, and Will Ospreay, for instance. But it could be anyone. It'd be Powerhouse Hobbs. That is, that kind of stuff would rule. There's a lot of rumors that Speedball Mike Bailey's coming in, right? That would be a great way to debut him next week. Nice little surprise entrant. And he knows how to handle scramble matches. He's done more than his fair share. Anyway, the match itself, it was good, but I also thought it was slow. Like, everyone felt half a step off. Does that make sense? Everyone, there seemed to just be lacking some chemistry here, right? Nothing really flowing. There was this really fun spot where Jay White gets dumped over the top rope onto Swerve on the floor, which was really nice. And a Blade Runner secures Jay White's spot in the number one, in the pole position for the Gauntlet next week. But the story of this match is Ricochet, who shows up ringside as the match is happening, and he's in the audience, and he blindsides Swerve. He attacks him with a huge pair of scissors, golden scissors. Like, I don't know, like seamstress scissors, with the blades as long as a baby's arm, right? And he just stabs him in the head. And then that causes Swerve not only it costs him the match, but he starts bleeding out. And then Ricochet jumps the barricade after the match and continues to stab Swerve in the head with the scissors. I'm like, okay, this actually rules. And he's got blood all over him. He's got a nice suit on. I don't know what kind of dry cleaner is going to be able to handle getting them blood stains out of that suit. But he was beating him down, stabbing him in the head in a great spot. Like, this was tremendous. A great angle to wrap it up. Because he's pissed off at Swerve. He's pissed off at Swerve because Swerve hasn't been calling him names. So Ricochet is officially the softest man alive, which is tremendous. Which makes it even more tremendous that he's out there, on Twitter telling Samantha has to make him sandwiches and retweeting Andrew Tate, who also is one of the softest men alive. So it all comes together. Yeah. So he's really leaning into the heel turn, and we're setting up this program for Swerve and Ricochet, which is off to a rousing start. And this had been simmering for weeks, comes to a boil here. Now we got to see how this goes. Because listen, I'm holding this at arm's length. I'm not like jumping up and down like maybe previously I would have. But we have recent examples of AEW doing great, violent angles with terrible follow-up. Right? We just have to think back at the Mariah May, Tony Storm shoe thing, where everything after for Mariah May just fell completely flat. This ruled. This was objectively tremendous. I'm going to pump the brakes on being excited. That being said, Ricochet himself, right? I think this heel turn is going to do him, has been doing him a lot of good. And I think this event is going to do him even more good. Comes in, babyface, off of the WWE run. But quickly, I think a lot of us were like, well, where's the sauce? I think this is like, it's Ricochet. He's fine, great wrestler. But what is the thing that's going to make us excited about him? What's going to make... What puts him over the top here? And I think this is going to be it. And this was a very well done heel turn. This was a super well done heel turn. Like, I'm wary about the rest of this angle, but the Ricochet heel turn, that was super well done. Little things here and there. Clearly, the Hurt Business turning him down was the point of no return for him, where he was like, okay, got to move forward. But the way he won the Ospreay match, just all little things. It's been so well executed, so well done. I got no complaints. This, to me, was the best part of the show. And this is what you put on if you want to, if you do indeed have new pro wrestling fans, this is what you put on. You put on Ricochet, which probably a lot of people recognize because of WWE, pulling out scissors and stabbing people in the head. You're like, okay, this is interesting. It's new. It's bold. It's intense. All right, I'm into this. Anyway, for some reason, the Undisputed Kingdom come to the rescue. Is it because Roderick Strong was outside? Doesn't matter. Jay White wins. That's what matters. Then we have Alex Marvez, who's with Jeff Jarrett and friends, and just trying to get. Well, what's Jeff Jarrett's mindset? They're setting up the big reveal. They're leaning hard into the fact that he's going to retire. And Karen comes in and says, whatever you want, I want. We're together. We're unbreakable, and good stuff. Mariah May cuts a backstage promo. It was fine. It was good. I think her backstage promos are good. Her promos overall have been improving. So then we get the Jeff Jarrett announcement where he teases. He's in with the boots. He drops the boots in the middle of the ring, but he doesn't leave them there. And he basically swerves us into believing that he's going to retire. But no, he's not. He goes over the history of the Jarretts, talking about how his grandmother got her start in the business and how she changed her family's trajectory forever. How his father was took over the Tennessee territory, and how he himself, back in the day, he was talking about risk reward decisions, high risk, high reward decisions. His grandmother going all in, his father going all in, he himself going all in, abandoning his athletics, playing basketball to transition to pro wrestling. While the family was saying, no, don't do it. He was like, no, I want to do this. So high risk, high reward. And he's like, I'm gonna go out like a Jarrett. First of all, I re-signed as a talent with AEW. Good for him. Does he still have the office job? Probably not. And then he announces that, and then he says, well, I'm going to go high risk, high reward one more time because I want to be AEW World Champion. I want gold, but not just any gold. I want to be champion. So, good for him. Look, the people, they like the Double J. They really do. Which is wild because it's wild to me that in 2024, people are really into Jeff Jarrett, because I remember years, like in the early 2000s, where everyone hated Jeff Jarrett. Like no one liked Jeff Jarrett, and he knew this, and he leaned into it too. But at the end, at the tail end of WCW, and then in TNA, booking himself as the champion and so on and so forth, like no one liked Jeff Jarrett. And fans, no one was into Jeff Jarrett. Now it's like, oh, great, the Last Outlaw, one more run, we're into this. And I'm into it, don't get me wrong, right? I don't harbor any ill wills for Jeff Jarrett and putting himself over, right? Anyway, the idea is that, everyone's into it. Everyone likes this idea, and no one has to worry. I don't think he's becoming AEW World Champion. I don't think he's becoming World Champion, but I've got some thoughts. Just hang on a bit. I've got some thoughts on this World Championship situation. We're going to get to that. Just hang on. Bear with me for a second here, but nice little effective segment. I liked it. It was good. And look, if there's a guy who deserves like a proper retirement tour, where it's as well, it's Jeff Jarrett. All of his years in the business doing stuff. He's tremendous. He's absolutely tremendous. He deserves it. We get Hook cutting a pre-tape promo on the stairs somewhere in Brooklyn, I guess. I don't know. Queens? Who knows? I don't know. I'm not familiar all that much with the boroughs. And still not done with Christian Cage. Of course, Powerhouse Hobbs squashes John Cruz and Rob Killjoy. So that's a thing that happened. Then we get Marvez backstage with Big Bill and Brian Keith. They put over Jericho. They're saying that he's not coming here to Asheville because it's a dump. And then they run into Adam Copeland, or they see rated FTR. And they basically lay out a challenge. They lay out a challenge to rated FTR, or FTR challenges them. I don't remember. A trios match on Collision. Alrighty. AEW sends its condolences to the family and friends of Sweet Daddy Siki, who passed away. Bit of a notable figure in the Canadian wrestling scene. We're not going to get into the obituary, but you should check it out. There's a great obituary right now over on Slam Wrestling, which is absolutely worth you checking out. Then we get a retape once again of MJF. This was shot after World's End, where basically he says, finally, mercifully, Better Than You, baby, comes to a close. And MJF will always be a babyface in my heart. Thank you. Thank you. Mercifully, indeed. It's done for you, but it's done for all of us as well. God bless you. You remember when people said this was going to be AEW's bloodline? Do you remember this? Do you remember when people were saying like this was going to be the greatest thing ever, that this was going to be the AEW equivalent to the bloodline, while people like me were sitting here and telling you, this stinks. It's not going to work. And I was told to grow a funny bone. So Max basically announces that he as well has his eyes on the AEW championship. And he's like, Mox, you're running around with my property. I don't give a shit about the company. I want my championship back. So here's what's fun. Okay, this is what I like. And it makes a lot of sense that you should be doing this. Okay, and I feel like this is something that should have been done earlier, but we're doing it now. Okay, so regardless, I like it. But currently, Mox is the champion, and now it feels like he's being attacked from all sides instead of just one challenger, right? Sure, we've got Adam Copeland coming up, but we've got Darby, right? Who clearly has sights on Jon Moxley. We have Jay White, he always ends up talking about Moxley in his promos, right? Yeah, Yuta, but Mox. And he's coming for Mox. And he's been trying to come for Mox for months at this point, and he's still not done. And he's got the number one spot in the Gauntlet to get the shot at the world title. So Jay White is still in this. Jeff Jarrett just announced, and now MJF. So you've got like I'm going to use the word again, a gaggle of challengers who are now surrounding Mox, who are going to come at him from multiple sides. And I like this. This is how this Death Riders thing should feel. A lot of people are doing it for the World Championship. You know, Darby's doing it for the heart of AEW. MJF doesn't give a shit about AEW, that this thing, despite the fact that he got it tattooed on him. But tomato, right? If the tattoo is real at this point, I'm going to need to see that again. I'm going to need to see the tattoo again at some point. Yeah. So it's an interest. That's how you develop a scene. That's interesting. This is fun. Keeps everyone on our toes. Has all these little programs all centered around the World Championship, which should be your top thing, right? And I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, you know what you do with Jon Moxley and Jeff Jarrett? You know what you do? Here I am talking about how the Death Riders kind of stink. You know, it's not as exciting. It's not as good. They don't feel as violent. Have him walk the dog with Jeff Jarrett in his match. Everyone loves the Jeff Jarrett. I told you this. They love the Double J. Have Moxley in his match walk the dog with Jeff. Beat him senselessly. Then after the match, do the plastic bag. Do something disgusting and vile once again. Just go ahead and do it again. Or something worse. I see a lot of upside in this, into doing that. I think that would be tremendous. You know, beloved kind of fatherly legend figure that AEW has. Just go for it. Just absolutely go right 100% in. I think it'd be tremendous. And listen, I've been asking for Max to get back into some kind of high-level program. I'm glad we're all done with the Undisputed Era stuff or Undisputed Kingdom stuff. Tomato once again. I'm glad we're done with all of that because it is junk. And Max is ready to move on, and let's have Max do something interesting. Anything else? There are so many things he could be doing now that are much more interesting than this. And I know Max is not the most popular candidate, right? But I know he has a fair share of detractors. This is an MJF podcast. I like MJF. I like him a lot. Not everything hits, but more of his stuff hits than the opposite. And I think he gets over scrutinized for a lot of things. I think whatever top tier programs are going on right now, they would all benefit with having some MJF sprinkled into it. That's my thought. And this leads us to the main event where Rated FTR defeated the Death Riders trio of Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and the AEW World Champion Jon Moxley. So this was a crowd pleaser again. A fine match, well worked. It was all right. I guess the really only thing that annoyed me was the fact that they brawled into the audience, and then I think it was Mox and Cope. Who was it that brawled into the audience? It was Mox and someone. And then they brawled all the way back like nothing happened. I'm like, all right. Mox is back body dropped on commentary by Cope, while Jay White interferes in the match, lands a Blade Runner on Yuta, and then a Shatter Machine and a Spear by Rated FTR get the win. Like I said, crowd pleaser match. It was fine. It was good little match. Nothing wrong with it. Now, of course, the big talking point is Adam Copeland has a new name. We're just shortening down to Cope. We're just calling him Cope now. It's not Adam Copeland. It's not Adam Copeland. It's Cope. Just Cope. It's plain old Cope. It is Rated R Superstar Cope. It's not Adam Copeland. It's Cope. Cope. I like the idea that this was his little nickname that people would throw around, right? But this doesn't have to be his name. We're overthinking this. His official name, this is on the same level of the Seth freaking Rollins stuff. Why the freaking? The freaking makes no sense. It's dumb and it doesn't flow and it's awkward and it's stupid. Just call him Seth Rollins. It's just Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins. It's fine. Why the freaking? Why call him Cope? Is it because he thought that Adam Copeland was too long or whatever? Rated R Superstar Adam Copeland. Yeah, but you don't have to call him Rated R Superstar Adam Copeland every time. This isn't WWE where you have to push the nicknames all the time. You don't have to, it's the Eradicator. It's Mommy the Eradicator. Rhea Ripley. Like none of that bullshit, right? You just have to, you could just call him Adam Copeland or Copeland. Cope is cringe. Cope is bad. Why are we overthinking this? Cope. Why did we decide that this was Cope? Why did we decide that, who started thinking that we had to fix this? That we had to fix the Adam Copeland. So, oh man, the name's not catching on, Adam. We're going to need to come up with something else. Who decided this? The name was fine. In fact, it was kind of refreshing and a nice, clean break from the WWE edge, right? It's like, this is a new guy, new era, new things. Cope? No, come on, man. And it has I think I know where they're doing it, but it comes across as, hello, fellow kids, It's like, hey, you guys use the word Cope. Well, my name is Cope because my last name is Copeland. So aren't I relatable here in my 50s? It's like, it's weird. It's dumb. There's that level. And look, we all call Moxley Mox. Everyone calls him Mox. It's even part of his thing, right? Where MOX, everyone calls him Mox. But his name is not Mox. He's suddenly not Mox. It's Jon Moxley. Why not just have the little nickname, have the little thing? Calling him Cope was fine. This is weird. This is weird. Now everyone's going to start calling him Cope, and it's going to be weird, and it's going to sound cringe. It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. Like this is on the level of the Viking Experience, where you're like, why are you changing the name to such a cringe, weird thing that the Viking Experience? Yeah, I know you didn't want to use War Machine. That's fine. They were called the War Raiders, and then you brought them up, and you call them the Viking Experience. I'm like, what? No, that's bad. This is bad. This is on that level. This is not good. I don't think it's defensible. It doesn't make sense. This is really just a thing where it's just like, where we have to relate to the youths. Hello fellow kids. It's the meme. It's literally the meme. I'm still not necessarily excited at the prospect of Jon Moxley versus Cope. But maybe that's how, maybe for those of you who are like, well, Warren, it's not that big a deal. Because there is some of you out there, absolutely. And that's okay if you disagree with me on this. Maybe the way for me to get you detractors on the Cope situation, maybe some of you think this is okay. Maybe I'll get you to turn. If I start pronouncing, every time I pronounce Cope, I say, Cope! Every time. Or I just like, Cope! In this broken, Cope! Just like, you just go, Cope! Where eventually you're like, I can't stand to hear it. And then it triggers, it triggers a negative effect in you, like a Pavlovian response. So whenever you hear Cope, you hear my voice actually saying, Cope! And you're like, and then because it creates this feeling of unease and disgust because I've been annoying you by saying Cope. So maybe I'll do that moving forward. Maybe this is what I'm going to do. Maybe this is the new bit to get you to reject the idea of Cope by pronouncing it in this way that you just cannot unhear anymore. And whenever you hear someone talk about it, you will hear me instead and will create the negative effect that I want to. It's behavioral science. There's science behind what I'm going to do here. It's scientifically proven that this is going to work. I'm going to do it. This is what we're doing moving forward. But really what we're doing moving forward is ending this review of Dynamite, which went quite long this week. Happy New Year. I did have we did go off on some tangents at first. Hopefully you skipped through all of that. Thank you. Burying his own audio. No, it was fun. This was good. We're having a nice time. We're having a good time. It's a lovely day. And, the new year has started. I'm not saying I'm going to do this every week, but, nothing like reconnecting with the Warren Hayes of old. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. If you like this on YouTube, leave us a subscription, leave us a like as well on the video. Please leave a like. Those are tremendous and help out tremendously, as do 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts or 5-star ratings on Spotify. If you are listening to this on Thursday, I will be back later this evening for our Thursday live stream. We'll be back streaming on Monday. I've got something brewing. Might be a little out of the ordinary, but I think we've got a plan set up. We'll be sure to follow me on the social media site known as Blue Sky. The link is in the description. It's at mrwarrenhayes.show and or in the Discord as well. Join me in the Discord. That way you won't miss a thing. Thank you all very much for joining me, for listening. Go watch some Randy Orton and get back to me, and I'll see you next time. Go!